Hi, everybody. Jill Allen here from Jill Allen and Associates, and I am so excited to be bringing you the third part of my mini series. And today we're going to be talking about something called a bog. Now, I know some of you may call them BHAGs or BHAG, but I call them bogs. I don't know why. I just kind of like the way it rolls off of my tongue. So we're going to be talking about bogs today and what exactly that means in our four ways to be true to you. So when we think about bogs, the way I like to say it, what I'm thinking about is big, hairy, audacious goals. And when I think of when I think of what a bog means, I think about we all have goals out there. We have, I want to lose 10 pounds by the end of the month, or I want to learn how to paint, or I want to remember to, go on and research how to do a podcast or whatever. So we have little goals, right, that we all have and we all scratch off and work through throughout our week, throughout our month potentially. But when I think about bogs, what I am alluding to and talking about is these really big, hairy, audacious goals that we set for ourselves that we know are probably not very attainable, but it's something we just can't get past. So in our last little series, I talked about, my goal had always been to become a consultant. And that was a very big, hairy, audacious goal when I look back, 28 years and go, it's crazy that I was thinking about that 28 years. And the thing I want you to realize with these really big goals is this is not something that you're going to accomplish in a month generally or in 2 months. This is something that you are looking at playing the long game for. And I love what Rachel Hollis says, when you're looking at these big goals, the big ones, the ones that, you just can't get past. These are, you have to choose one goal and go after it. So we can have lots of little sub goals, but the big one, the really audacious goal is the one that we know we're going to play the long game for, the one that's not going to come overnight, the one that we're probably going to have some fear over, right? We talked about in our last series, just getting rid of all of the interruptions that get in front of us from a fear factor and saying, okay, if I strip all of that away, what's left is my goal, and what's in front of me is just me, what I need to do to get there. And so when you're thinking about your blogs, I really hope that you will take the time to set this goal. And, if we're talking from an orthodontic industry standpoint, I'm going to give you an example. For a startup orthodontist, our big, hairy, audacious goal that we're going to set is that we're going to produce 300,000 in our first year. Now that's scary when you think about the fact that we're starting from zero. We've got nothing, no money on the books, and we're going to say our goal is to hit 350,000 in our first year, and in our second year our goal is to hit 600,000. Those are big, scary, hairy, audacious goals. But the beauty of it is we can do it if we set our mind to it and we play the long game for getting there. Maybe you've got a personal goal. I talked about this before. Maybe your goal is to learn to run a marathon. And maybe you're a person who's never run before. Well, I will tell you, there are lots of people that start from zero and get to 26, point, what is it, 1 or 3? I can't remember. But, whatever that is in a marathon. But here's the deal. They don't just go out one day and say, I'm going to run a marathon and I've never run before, but I got 26 miles in me, no problem, right? Absolutely not. We have to work towards that really hairy, scary, audacious goal. And that's what bogs are about. Maybe going back to business again, maybe you're a treatment coordinator out there and you're saying, Jill, I'm new to this industry, but I want to be the best treatment coordinator out there, and your goal is to have a consistent 85% conversion ratio. Well, it's attainable. You can absolutely do it. But maybe you're starting at a 40 or a 50% conversion ratio, and you're saying, my goal, my big, hairy, audacious goal is to consistently convert at an 80 or an 85%. Here's the deal. You have to do the work. You have to strip away what it is that gets in your way of converting there. Maybe it's how you talk to patients. Maybe it's, this is the scariest thing I do with treatment coordinators. Maybe it's taping yourself and re-watching how you present treatment to find your flaws, to find where you can do better, getting rid of that fear, and then being able to hone in on those skills to get you to that percentage. Whatever it is, we all have, and I hope we all have the opportunity to have these really big, hairy, audacious goals. For me, a personal one, besides being a consultant, I still have it on my list. Something I'm working towards is, I want to have a better fitness regimen, and I want to consistently find time in my week to fit it in. And that can be a really hard thing when I'm traveling. Right now, we're not traveling a lot, but when I'm traveling, when we're on the road a lot. And so it's playing the long game, playing the long game for where we're going versus worrying about, I just need to lose 5 pounds right now so I fit into my shorts, right? So big, hairy, audacious goals. This is something that we need to do for ourselves, for our person, or for our business. And we just have to not be afraid to go after that goal. But also, you absolutely have to remember that this is not a goal that you're going to achieve overnight. And if it is, it's probably not big enough, hairy enough, or audacious enough, because we want to really strive, put ourselves out there to get to whatever that is. Now, when we think about these bogs or these BHAGs, if that's the way you like to say it, I think we have to set very smart steps to getting us towards our goal. And I really love this, this little analogy of breaking it out here. So let's talk about what SMART stands for. So the way I look at it, SMART stands for being very specific. So if we're going to set a goal, we want to be specific about what that goal is. So if I'm a startup doctor and I say, my goal is to produce specifically a minimum of 300,000 in my first year. Or maybe you're an existing practice and you're saying, my goal is to produce 20% more than my previous year. And you're going to go and you're going to look at what your production was, and you're going to look month by month, and how do I break down very specifically what I need to do to get to my goal. So the first thing in setting our BHAGs is we have to be smart with them, right? So first letter, first way to remember it is to be specific. So we have to be specific on our goal. We have to be specific on how we're going to get there. The next thing is measurable. So how do I measure how well I'm doing? Maybe I'm the person, we're going to go back to that marathon. Maybe I want to run that marathon. Well, maybe I've downloaded an app, and every day my app tells me to do my run and to log my time. And I can very specifically see how I push myself to get measured to get to where I want to be. Or let's go back to a treatment coordinator. Maybe I'm looking, and I feel like, especially from a treatment coordinator perspective, you absolutely cannot say, well, I think my gut said I had a good month. It's all about data, ladies and gentlemen. So how do I measure what I did previous month to next month? How do I measure what I did previous year to this year? How do I know how many new patients I have to convert? How do I know what the trends are when I'm looking at my conversion? Where do I maybe fall short? Maybe you have a problem. You start to look at your data and you go, gosh, every time I have to present a case that's more than $6,000, I tend to not convert well on those. Well, that takes some self-reflection to go back and say, what is my obstacle that's getting in the way of me getting those conversions? Because now I can measure it. Now I can be specific because I know the goal that I'm working towards. So specific and measurable are our first two. The next thing that we're looking at is going into attainable. So is your BHOG be attainable? Is this something that you can say, I'm going to get to it and I'm going to be able to see myself at that finish line? So as a treatment coordinator and you're measuring the consistency of how well you're converting, is it something that's attainable? Do you know where your end is? Do you know where you're going to come back and look at things and say, hey, I attained it, or I got to my stop date and now I'm going to reassess, maybe pivot and move and keep moving towards that end goal. I'll tell you, when I decided 28 years ago I was going to become a consultant and I started moving in that realm, I was not playing the short game. 28 years is a long time to hold on to a goal, to hold on to a really big, hairy, audacious goal. But I did it. And 14 years ago, I started my consulting business. So again, we're looking for, is it attainable? Am I moving in that direction? What is it going to take to get there? And who's going to be able to help me? Many, many, many times we can't do this on our own. And I think that's the biggest thing we have to remember when we are going towards our goals is we want to be, remember how we talked about leveling up? We want to be looking for people to help us level up, to help us get to our goal. If we want to learn to paint, more than likely, you're not going to just be able to think about that in your head and throw out a great painting, right? Maybe we got to, look to YouTube. Maybe we got to talk to somebody in the neighborhood who can help us get there. Whatever it is, we need to level ourselves up. We need to be playing the long game for this. Finally, as we get to the end here, the last part in our SMART goals, in our SMART, measure of how we're going to get there is being realistic. Is my BHOG realistic? It can be a really big, hairy, audacious goal, but we got to get real about this. If our goal is to cure world hunger, is that really realistic? Probably not. But maybe you can cure hunger, and maybe you've got a plan to cure hunger within your community or within your neighborhood or within your local elementary school, right? So be realistic about what you're looking and how you're setting your goals to be. Know the why. I understand, why am I pushing myself to get to this point? So be realistic. And then the last thing is it tangible? Is it something that I can feel, that I can see myself doing? Again, that realistic aspect. Yes, I want to cure hunger, but can I really see myself curing it for the world? Really? Is that really a tangible goal versus, do I have a plan to start in one school or one elementary or one community? Or as a doctor, is it a goal that's realistic? Am I really going to do 3 million in production in my first year? And is that really realistic? Is that really tangible? Or maybe, again, the goal is 500,000 in my first year. It's big, it's hairy, it's audacious, but you can do it. And so that's what I really want you thinking about and really thinking about as we're thinking about SMART goals, SMART in relationship to our BHAGs. So as we kind of finish up here, the next part that I really want you thinking about in our 4 ways to be true to you is, remember our first little series, we just need to start. Our second one, we have to own our fears. We have to get rid of all of the bullshit out there. And I want you this week, I want you to work on being audacious in setting that BHOG and then being smart about how you're going to get to it. So again, Like always, Jill Allen here from Jill Allen and Associates. I am here to help. Please reach out if you've got questions, if you want to know how to become a better treatment coordinator.